In 1986, the Chinese steel industry produced 50 million tons of steel. Only 5 million tons of that steel was useful. 45 million tons had to be junked.
See, we grew up reading all the stories about Xerox, Spark, invention of pretty much everything we do computer. And these guys have contributed to fundamental research, including countless Nobel Prize contributions. India में private sector R&D is where and
कहाँ है? कहीं नहीं है.
अभी नहीं है तो होगा कभी.
In 1940, the US government spent 0.047% of GDP into research and development. In 1944, it was 7x. It was 0.5%. 1964, it was 2%. So government spending in defense research, in space research, all of those things went up a lot. So माओ को लगा अगर ओवर सेंट्रलाइज रखा ना, कोई आके अगर बीजिंग को कब्जा कर लेगा तो पूरा देश कब्जे में आ जाएगा. उन्होंने डिसेंट्रलाइज कर दिया कि वो पकड़ में ही नहीं है.
Nilkant, welcome back.
Yeah, good to be back.
You have become a star on this podcast.
I am surprised, frankly.
I am not surprised. I think, I think you are really able to bring, very different level of thinking, analysis and communication. बाकी तुम्हारा हिंदी बोलने का अंदाज भी बहुत बढ़िया है, तो लोगों को शायद वो भी काफी पसंद है. अरे पहले ये बताओ, आजकल पढ़ क्या रहे हो? I think as far as I know, तो हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ पढ़ते रहते हो, multiple books.
हाँ. So अभी there is a book I'm reading on octopus brains. See, you must be aware that there is a form of intelligence which, and so in the tree of evolution, they separated out like 500 million years ago. So if the cuttlefish and octopus have a certain form of, and they're supposed to be very intelligent, why is it that, how is it that intelligence has evolved? And some people say that if alien intelligence exists, it would be as different as maybe octopuses are, and we're just starting to learn. So that's one book which I'm kind of 60% through. There is another book that I just finished on immigration in the US. It's a bit of a political thing, but there is another one which is for light reading while I'm driving, which is...
You read while you're driving? Listen.
Audible, yeah. Because see, I used to read heavy stuff, but then it's hard to take notes. So Alexander McCall Smith, I don't know if you've... so the number one ladies detective agency, it's absolutely phenomenal in terms of,
Number one ladies detective agency.
Yeah. It's the name is with a misnomer.
Book का नाम है.
Book का नाम है. पूरी series है.
अच्छा.
So it's phenomenal. It's about life in Botswana, and very very subtle, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, so there's.
What's the thought process? How do you select these books?
So I spend a lot of time selecting books.
लग नहीं रहा है octopus brain, number one ladies detective agency.
Boss, you have to curate, So it's just these are all things I'm interested in. So anyone who has the best books list, I will scan through it, and then I'll take notes. Right. I will put it in my wish list, and then once I'm done reading a book, so I read 54 last year. So one a week is a good average.
And very diverse set of books, so that So ऐसा नहीं कि एक ही topic को 10 पढ़े जा रहे हो.
Well, I occasionally do that. When I was writing on demographics, I read like 9 books on population growth and demographics. China has been of good interest, so I've read a lot of books on China in the last 3 months. Just the history of the last 4 decades. So I go through a lot of these book lists. Some are reading lists in Economist, or some FT, or some blogs. Tyler Cowen saying, "What am I reading?" So you go through that list and you find something interesting and put it in our wish list. Then
I'm pretty sure some listeners will request your reading list for this year, which will request you up to you if you want to share. We'll put it publicly.
Yeah.
Can I read it? So Nilkant, today I wanted to pick your brain on overall the larger deep tech ecosystem in India. And the reason for that is, we have had many conversations about the economic growth. At some level, we're all very optimistic and bullish about, what's going to happen and so on. There's even more optimistic, content, book, commentary coming out. But one of the critical enablers, at least what I believe, is the most of the progress in the world also last 100 years is powered by a lot of technological breakthrough.
Yeah.
Now, in the West, technological breakthrough happened, through the whole research institute and long-term academic career, government participation, so on. Developing countries initially can benefit a lot from technology transfer, but it run its course at some point. Something else is to. So I feel India is either going through the transition or need to go through the transition. Would love to kind of hear your broad perspective, but I want to go all the way back, maybe 75 years ago. See, even when India was becoming independent, something happened before and even during that time. A lot of foundation get built. In fact, there are only 3 Nobel Prize winners in Indian physics. They're all born and worked in pre-independence India. I don't know. I mean, the series like Rocket Boys, etc., celebrate some of that. But even after independence, we started a nuclear energy program. ISRO, which is an amazing work. Bhabha Atomic Research Center have been at the forefront of at least nuclear energy research at that time. But all these stories are very old in India. I'll be hard pressed to cover recent stories. So how to think about, where are we in the whole technology evolution of the country?
Yeah, okay. So let's first set context. And I think we may be repeating some of stuff that we have discussed in one of the prior episodes, which is why we need to do this. And the concept of the middle income trap. So it's I think, important to put a bit of a refresher there that like even when the US was going through this transition and going from lower middle income to middle income and then upper income, they were exceptional at using basic research done in Europe and driving, like, say, electricity or trains or railways. See, in the first 50 years after independence, they were actually using British technology to build canals and stuff like that. But then the next 50 years, they started to implement basic research done in Europe, but implemented into machines and telephone, telegraph, light bulbs, all of those things started to happen. There's more applied research. And then over the next 50, 60 years, they really started to invest. And I think deep research really started after, because there was a whole influx of immigrants and the Science the Endless Frontier and, what happened in the Second World War. For India, I think the aspirations have been there. So you can see what you didn't mention, and I think is perhaps the most important, is computing. The establishment of CDAC, the first computers at IIT Kanpur, where we went, and how critical that was in the development of the Indian IT industry. So what Chris Gopalakrishnan has funded, the Itihasa initiative, and then the book, there was a book that was published last year.
Odds, I think.
Yeah, Against the Odds. It's a phenomenal book. I think it's documenting how critical it was to have those interventions from the government, which allowed for the first set of IT engineers to start to come through. Narayana Murthy working in IIM Ahmedabad at their IT center and, starting to understand things. So, so that has been very productive. I think the issue with, not an issue, I think what ISRO has achieved is quite phenomenal. I think it just inspires and so inspiring. But that's not the model which will succeed, which is why it has been now replaced by InSpace. That, see, the government approach to anything is administration, is centralization. And what that does is it just does away with competition. And if there is no competitive pressure, things slow down. So while I think the number of launches we are doing is very large, it's much higher than what it was 30 years back. But I think SpaceX, Blue Origin, these are doing many more times launches now, and therefore it was important to do in space. When you think about space research also, it is important to see that by itself it is not a very big market. Like the market size as per InSpace research is about $8 billion, right? And they say in 2033 it will be $33 billion. In what is actually a $4 trillion economy right now, it's not even a rounding error, right? So, but the important thing is what it enables. Now, India, for it to see, what is happening in India is at an accelerated pace. So what the US did in 150, 200 years, we have to do in 50 years.
Yeah.
So they perhaps took 50 years to use British technology to develop stuff, and then next 50 years was used there. We are kind of crossing that in 10, 12, 15 years.
And maybe before we look into what India needs to do, let's just go back and understand US little more closely. In fact, you suggested this Vannevar Bush's book, The Endless Frontier, which is a fascinating read.
Yes.
So, something happened during World War II, and you are right that there was massive influx of Jewish scientists. But to America's part, they also created that safe haven for them, Princeton Institute of Advanced Studies and so on, and the marshalling of all the scientific might of the US, for the...
And fiscal resources. See, when Vannevar Bush went to FDR, there is this funny anecdote that in 1940, I think the US had built 2 tanks, a few hundred, 1,000 guns. In fact, when they entered the Second World War, they were practicing with mock guns. Right?
Yeah.
The pace at which they were destroying the U-boats, the German U-boats, was 1/40th the pace at which the Germans could build them.
Yeah.
By 1943 or middle of the war, it was 1:1. Now, so when Vannevar Bush went to FDR and said that, look, I'm going to create this council. It will be public money, but run privately. And we will use research, we will use technology development, and we will accelerate the process. The production of tanks, the production of ships, the production of aircraft. So all the auto companies were sort of galvanized into building aircraft engines. And that whole production just went vertical. And it was so critical to the US winning the Second World War that I think the whole establishment understood how important, which is why, when the Second World War ended, Vannevar Bush had to, again, he was the founder of Raytheon. For those of people who don't remember. And Raytheon is one of the biggest defense manufacturers in the world. And but by then, when Truman came to power, he balked at the process. See, now that the war is over, there is no urgency to keep investing. And so giving a lot of... And so what happened was, it is very interesting. In 1940, the US government spent 0.047% of GDP into research and development.
In 1940.
0.07. In 1944, it was 7x. It was 0.5%. 1964, it was 2%. Now, between 1945...
And this is the government spend, not counting the private.
Private was separate. So, so government spending in defense research, in space research, all of those things went up a lot. I would say this was in addition to the impact the US government had because of government procurement. So as the Defense Department, say, procures computers, and some of these initiatives also, even the initiatives that failed, delivered positive returns. For example, they had these in the late 40s, after the Second World War, they had some IBM computer and some programmers whose job was to decode some missile trajectory or aircraft trajectory or something, and finally it didn't work. But in the process, they had to train so many software engineers that those software engineers 10 years later developed a lot of very interesting programs. So after the Second World War, the government balked at putting public money into private hands. See, in the heat of war, it is allowed, it is permitted, no one asks questions, and it delivered very strongly. But after that, I think they had issues. But when the Sputnik movement happened, and when they started hearing that the Russians are developing missiles, so then the reinvestment started. And then the government really started to become very aggressive. So, and 1958 was when DARPA was set up, and we all know, all the things that they...
So, some of these things were obviously motivated by the geopolitics, First World War II and later on the Cold War and so on.
Correct.
But even within that, fundamental research got sponsored in a very significant manner.
Correct.
That seems like, a little bit of a genius that, how do you use taxpayer money to fund fundamental research where you don't really know what is going to come out in long term? And that's the case, Vannevar Bush made in the Science Endless Frontier that, I think 10 think he had this, or someone else had this thing, the usefulness of useless things.
Yeah.
That thought process is quite amazing that,
Absolutely. And this is where I think the initiative, in fact, that's what I was saying, that ISRO or the space business being $8 billion or $10 billion is actually irrelevant. In the process of solving those tough problems, all the solutions that you discover have enormous economic value. And I think we have discussed this on our podcast earlier, that everything that goes into a smartphone, an iPhone, was actually government-funded research. So everything from the touch screen to digital signal processing to storage, permanent storage, NAND flash, that is, energy storage, batteries. And so the conviction, I think, came partly from geopolitics. But you're right that in funding deep research, I think the US perhaps really took the lead. And that delivered in a big way. Now, on many things, and this is where I think you have to stop. You need to have the ability, the financial or the fiscal resources, so that you don't count the pennies that you lost. Meaning that, there was this RCA which discovered TFT LCD. It was sold for $3 million to Sharp in 1973. Because they couldn't find a use for it. Now, it was all developed, discovered, and the TFT LCD, finally, it ended up that it was so heavily competitive, no one made money from it. But the whole, the ecosystem developed outside of the US. The US never could get a TFT LCD industry. So there will be occasions where you do the deep research, the fundamental research, but then someone else plucks the fruit. But I think the criticality of the important thing was, or important thing is, as we think about India, is that at this stage, we don't have that level of fiscal resources. And the second thing is that we need to create the right kind of infrastructure. So as we think about what India needs to do and perhaps lessons from the past, or mistakes made in the past, are that you need to have the risk-taking, long-term risk-taking ability of the government, combined with private enterprise. The private enterprise is about getting things done fast. It's about innovation, not following the process. And how do you combine that? And I think if we are not able to solve for that problem, then this is going to be a non-starter.
Yeah.
The second approach here, and this is again very important, is that it's not just the amount of money that you spend on R&D. It's also the amount of money that you contribute through government procurement. So, for example, the fact that the 4G equipment that BSNL is installing for its launch, which is going to happen later this year, maybe early next year, is all developed locally.
5G, you mean?
Well, they're doing 4G right now because it's based on C. But see, I know, I can see the disappointment. But the 4G to 5G launch, the transition, because it's mostly software. So that's a software trigger.
So it's the underlying same fundamental hardware.
Yeah, fundamental hardware remain mostly the same. So it should be easier to do. But remember that our penetration of telecom is stagnated. Rural tele-density had gone from 10% to 60% in 2008 to 14. After that, it's kind of flatlining there. It has stopped rising meaningfully. And the only way to get it higher is to make telephony viable or data viable at 20 rupee ARPU. As, say, X company gets 15,000 crores of revenue, and there is a company which will get 50,000 crores of revenue, if, say, 8 to 10% or 12% of that is spent on R&D, you are effectively funding 1,800 crores of R&D. So it is not counted as R&D, but it's private sector R&D, but you're funding that, right? So I think the Chinese have used it wonderfully, this model. And to some extent now India in some sectors is starting to provide that. So given that we don't have that level of resources, and which is why even ISRO was underfunded. See, I think what they've achieved with those low funds is absolutely incredible. But is that the best we want to do? And so we need to get more resources in. And therefore, getting the right model and the most efficient model where you don't end up giving resources. I mean, there was this study where the CSIR, I mean, if you look at the cost per paper they publish, it's absolutely humongous. And there is thousands of crores that goes into CSIR. So it's not that money is not being spent, but is it being utilized well? And so as we think about going through the middle income trap, which I think is about 15 years away for us, give or take, we have to start preparing the ecosystem. And again, going back to where I started, in the next 10, 15 years, I think just implementing foreign developed technology well is going to drive enough, it's going to be enough to drive 7-8% growth. But that model of development will not help us beyond that. And so as we think about going from, say, the $7,000, $8,000 or $6,000, $7,000 per capita to the $12,000, $15,000, $20,000 per capita, you have to have a product nation. So you need to have own brands, you need to own your own IP, your own technology. You need to have the infrastructure or the ecosystem which has a lot of risk capital. And we need to start developing some of those.
And the research-driven ecosystem, is it fair to say, at least takes a couple of decades?
Yes.
And I don't know what are the lessons from China, because sometimes China was also pretty much importing or even stealing, technology from wherever they can.
Till 20 years back.
Right. But somewhere they made this transition, and I don't know, how deliberate and conscious that thing was. But today, when they are becoming technology leader in many, many areas, they are publishing more papers on AI than, actually a lot more than US. I think from what I understand, EV technology, they are ahead of US. And probably many other areas, and this couldn't have happened.
Solar cells, battery technology.
So what's behind this? How did they manage?
You'll be surprised. They have thousands of sites running 5.5G.
Wow. And
these are
what is 5.5G?
5.5G is like halfway to 6G. And basically
probably exponentially better, I'm guessing.
I'm guessing also, because this is all happening in China. I mean, there are no global standards. And there are thousands of sites where they're already there, right? And so, see, one of the unique aspects of China is, and this is why, reading those several books on China in the last 50 years has helped, is that their economic model is very different from ours. So this whole, and we have discussed in our earlier podcast, that, the concept of systematic financial repression, that you have this ability to extract resources. So it's a form of economic organization where 60-70% of the people have very limited rights. There's a nice book called Invisible China, which also I'm kind of 15% through, which I'm reading on Kindle. So, which talks about how a large part of China is still left behind. So we think that they've solved all problems. They're not. And so if you're able to extract resources from the 70% of the population and make them available to the top 20-30%, it is phenomenal for risk taking. So people think that the
risk कोई और ले रहा है, benefit कोई और कर रहा है.
Absolutely. And but that is not replicable in India. It's not replicable in the US. Maybe to some extent in the US, but I definitely, at this stage, it's going to be very hard. And I don't think it's advisable also. So, so that model is very hard. But I think what they do is, and I'll give you examples. Starting with the 1980s, if people think that this concept of overcapacity and this brutal competition. So, like if there are 50,000 companies entering semiconductors, only 2,000 or 5,000 will survive. But those who survive will be absolutely supremely efficient and will eat everyone else's lunch. But all this capital that goes to waste, because in funding those electric vehicle companies which keep making losses for 10 years, where is it coming from? It is all coming from that bottom 60-70% whose savings are being expropriated at 2% returns. And who, outside of urban area, there are no land rights. So there's no private property outside of cities. Now, these are things that
a lot of people in India may not know. So outside urban cities in China, you cannot own land or house.
Yeah, so you have some long-term leases, but the city government can any day say, "Oh, I हट जाओ."
It's a government property basically.
हाँ, ये government अब ले ले. So now these are things which we can't even dream of, and we shouldn't as well. So I think so that model, so just give you some examples. In 1980s, in 1986, the Chinese steel industry produced some 50 million tons of steel, a lot of steel. वो कम्युनिस्ट एरा से निकले थे, एंड तो वो रशियन अकाउंटिंग सिस्टम चल रहा था. तो उसमें था कि भाई वॉल्यूम काउंट होता है, वैल्यू काउंटिंग. Only 5 million tons of that steel was useful. 45 million tons had to be junked. They had to import 20 million tons of steel to meet the domestic steel requirements. ये हालत थी. मतलब ये जो वेस्टफुल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है, जो अभी हम लोग बोले ओ चाइना इज ओवर, अरे भाई हमेशा से रहा है. इट इज ओनली नाउ दैट दे आर सो लार्ज, नाउ दे आर $20 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी. तो अब उनका स्पिल ओवर जो सबको दिख रहा है, पहले चाइना के अंदर दिखता था. 1996, these are facts which are hard to forget. They had 16 million TVs extra produced. Remember, this is before TFT, LCD, PDP and all of these technologies.
बड़े वाले टीवी होते हैं.
16 million, 1.6 crore TVs extra पड़े हुए थे उनके warehouses में. 1.3 billion shirts.
तो जो डंपिंग की कंप्लेन करते थे, मतलब
वो ये समस्या जो, और कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि जो एशियन फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस हुई 97-98 में, वो इसलिए भी हुई कि जब एक्स्ट्रा हो गया तो डंपिंग शुरू हो गई. जो अभी हो रहा है, इतनी कैपेसिटी हो गई है कि वो थाईलैंड में कार कंपनीज बंद हो रही हैं, इंडोनेशिया में डंपिंग हो रही है, क्योंकि उन्होंने तो आरसेप भी साइन कर लिया, जो है रीजनल कॉर्पोरेट व्हाटएवर, आई मीन आरसेप का फॉर्म है कुछ भी है वो, फॉर इकोनॉमिक पार्टनरशिप, राइट. सो उसके कारण वहाँ पे डंपिंग शुरू हो रही है. सो दिस इन 2003-04 दे रिकैपिटलाइज्ड चाइनीज बैंक्स बाय 35% of GDP. And just to explain what that means, कि बैंक्स के पास इतने बैड लोन्स थे कि आपको 35% ऑफ GDP से उसको रिकैपिटलाइज कराना पड़ा. इसका मतलब है कि जो कि बैड लोन का मतलब है लॉस बनाया कि जो पिछले जो आपने इनकम बुक किया था वो फालतू था. यानी 35% ऑफ GDP बुक्ड इन द लास्ट 8-10 years was waste. तो आप इनकम क्रिएट किए जा रहे हैं पर उसका वैल्यू नहीं है. और तो फिर ये अनलिमिटेड बैलेंस शीट कहाँ से आता है कि भाई लॉस किए जाओ, कोई बात नहीं, हमें संभाल लेंगे, क्योंकि द स्टेट ओन्स एवरीथिंग. दिस इज अ मॉडल विच आई डोंट थिंक वी शुड इवन ट्राई टू रेप्लिकेट, बट इट इज इम्पॉर्टेंट टू रिकॉग्नाइज कि ये हो रहा है.
चलिए, that model probably gives some leverage in terms of access to long-term capital and risk taking and all of that.
Yes.
But somewhere, like, okay, forget where the issue is coming from.
Decentralization. I know. So I say I know what you're coming. उन्होंने और क्या नहीं, सबसे I think the absolutely critical thing that it did, and that I think we should do and we can do, though I know it's going to be very hard to do, is decentralization.
Which is also counterintuitive. लगता है कि चाइना में सब कुछ सेंट्रलाइज होता होगा.
So it was done for a very different purpose. So Mao को लगा in the first 7-8 years of the development of China, the 50s में, कि भाई ये अगर ओवर सेंट्रलाइज रखा ना तो बहुत जल्दी कोई आके अगर बीजिंग को कब्जा कर लेगा तो पूरा देश कब्जे में आ जाएगा. उन्होंने डिसेंट्रलाइज कर दिया कि जाओ, पकड़ में ही नहीं आएगा. एंड थ्रू द कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी ये रिटेन कंट्रोल, बट a lot of authority. So just to give you numbers, more than 50% of fiscal resources go directly to local governments.
Local मतलब city level?
City government, not province government, city government. हमारे यहाँ पे 5%. तो क्या होता है कि इतनी सारी hundreds of EV companies हैं. The central government wanted कि national champion बनेगा. See, when you are going through this process, हर कोई एक दूसरे को देख के सीखता है ना. ऐसा थोड़ा कोई बचपन से सीख के आ जाता है कि भाई हमारे यहाँ ऐसे ये सोल्यूशन उसका चल जाएगा. सो उन्होंने देखा कि जापान में ज़ाइबात्सु थे, कोरिया में चीबॉल थे, भी बनाएंगे. उन्होंने चीबॉल से ज़ाइबात्सु में था कि उसके फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम भी साथ में, मतलब फाइनेंशियल कंपनीज टू बी अटैच टू दिस कॉन्ग्लोमरेट्स. उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं भाई ये हम अपने पास रखेंगे, बट बाकी आप कॉन्ग्लोमरेट बनाइए। तो उन्होंने कहा कि भाई वो ग्रेट वॉल मोटर्स और ये 2-3 और कंपनी जो हैं इंडिया की या चाइना की ऑटो चैम्पियन होंगी, खाक चैम्पियन होंगी, क्योंकि वो पूरा वो लोकल गवर्नमेंट ने इतने सारे ऑटो कंपनीज को फंड कर दिया कि वो उन्होंने सबकी प्रॉफिट को जीरो कर दिया। Now it is because there is such brutal competition that there are so many people investing and competing with each other that market forces work.
So is this one of the reason, like say some Chinese city decide कि I am going to be the footwear leader of the world, और मैं हजारों फुटवेयर कंपनी खोल दूंगा और इन्वेस्ट करूंगा, नर्चर करूंगा, और 15 साल के बाद they become the footwear leader of the world?
Yeah, so what happened was कि अगर किसी ने फुटवेयर कर लिया तो जी you see how the development happened. It is actually quite phenomenal. So क्या हुआ कि पहले एक वो शेंज़ेन और मतलब वो एक्सपेरिमेंटल कहीं कहीं पे रिफॉर्म्स हुए, थोड़ा हांगकांग के सटा हुआ है तो यहाँ कर लो, फिर वहाँ से थोड़ा लोगों को ले आया थोड़ा वहाँ के, उसके बाद वो प्रोविंस और वो सिटी जो है वो सबके लिए ट्रेनिंग कर रहा है। तो बाकी प्रोविंसेस बाकी सिटीज़ के ऑफिशियल्स को उठा के कॉन्फ्रेंसेज हो रहे हैं कि भाई हमने ऐसे किया, हमने वैसे किया, फिर सब लोग अपनी अपनी जगह पे गए, उन्होंने अपना अपना को जुल्लू सीधा किया वहाँ। कोई पीपल वो मिसयूज़ भी होता है, सो कोई वो टैक्स रेवेन्यू लेके दारू पार्टी कर रहा है, कोई कहीं कॉन्फ्रेंस में चला गया, कुछ नहीं हुआ फ़ायदा, तो ऑल ऑफ दोज थिंग्स हैपन। बट एज दिस स्प्रेड तो वो आओ कि भाई अब क्या करें। जैसे मान लीजिए कि आप कोई टीयर मतलब लेयर्स में हुआ ना, वेयर्स में हुआ, तो मान लीजिए कि आप 90s में आए, अब कहा कि यार वो शहर जो मुझे बना रहा है, वो शहर जो साइकिल बना रहा है, वो शहर जो मोटरसाइकिल बना रहा है, अब हम क्या बनाएं। तो किसने कहा कि भाई चलो तब हम पंखे बनाते हैं। तो बस वो पंखा बनाना शुरू किया। अब अगला वाला बोल रहा है कि नहीं चलो पंखा कर, तो वो खड़ा है यार, वो बहुत कम्पीट करना पड़ेगा, मैं कुछ और बनाता हूँ। तो दैट इज़ हाउ दिस सेंटर्स डेवलप। बट इफ़ यू वर सीन एज मेकिंग यार इसमें बड़ा पैसा बनता है, तो कोई और सिटीज़ में खड़ी हो जाएगी। And for things which had national relevance, like say like autos or like electric vehicles, clearly there are dozens of cities which are competing. Steel, I mean, they had such chronic overcapacity. और उनको लगता था कि दुनिया में 3-4 ही बड़ी आयरन ओर कंपनीज हैं, वो फोर्टेस्क्यू, BHP, रियो और वाले। तो ये 4 कंपनी जो हैं वो मतलब क्रॉस बॉर्डर या क्रॉस ओशन दे आई थिंक कंट्रोल में भी 70-80% ऑफ द आयरन ओर मार्केट। तो यू कैन इमेजिन कि आयरन ओर कंपनी 4 हैं और वहाँ पे 500 कंपनी है स्टील वाली, तो ऑब्वियसली उनके पास बार्गेनिंग पावर नहीं है। तो चाइनीज़ गवर्नमेंट जो है मतलब 15-20 साल से ट्राई कर रही है कि कंसोलिडेट करो यार इनको। थोड़ा बहुत हुआ है बट अभी भी पूरी तरह से नहीं हुआ है, क्योंकि सब लोकल गवर्नमेंट ओन्ड है। सो दिस आई थिंक the ability to generate market forces of competition I think has been equally important. So as much as the almost unlimited access to capital, I think this model has also been helpful, which unfortunately we are again we struggle with, because
still okay production के लिए globally competitive over capacity समझ में आता है, but how did all of this infrastructure translate into driving fundamental research, because they have really caught up on that? उसके लिए आपको मतलब you need a massive number of people to go into high quality PhD program.
Yes.
You need to publish in the respective journals and so on.
Absolutely.
तो कैसे मतलब how did they manage to do that in the last 20 years?
So एक तो ये है कि उस पे अलग तरह से मतलब एक अप्रोच चली वहाँ पे। एक तो ये कि there was a very systematic मतलब स्टार्टिंग विद द 80s कि भाई टेक्नोलॉजी कॉपी करके लाओ, और कंपनीज कंप्लेन कर रही हैं फॉरेन कंपनीज कि भाई ये हमारे अच्छा ऐसा है क्या,
देखते हैं
हाँ नहीं करिए बहुत गलत हो रहा है। तो ये so I think this was done in a very systematic way, and it was seen as absolutely normal that if you want access to our markets, you have to bring technology, and you don't have just have to bring technology. You have to share it with a local partner. So over 20 years, I think they quickly ramped up, and this is why I think it was done on multiple fronts. So एक तरफ से आपने foreign manufacturing को चाइना में बुला लिया, जैसे वो जो सेमीकंडक्टर्स में भी जैसे हुआहोंग NEC के साथ आया था, तो जितने जापानी कंपनीज थे उनके साथ आपने पार्टनरशिप करके सेमीकंडक्टर फैब खोल लिए. थोड़ा वो SMIC TSMC से चुरा के ले आया. और रिचर्ड चैंग यूज्ड टू बी सम जनरल मैनेजर इन TSMC. वो जब उसने SMIC खोली तो काफ़ी IP लेके आया. बाद में उनको 200-250 मिलियन फाइन बनना पड़ा, बट ठीक है, मतलब टेक्नोलॉजी तो आ गई. तो एक तो आपका वो तरीका हुआ कि भाई आप फॉरेन कंपनीज को ले आओ, उनको मैन्युफैक्चर कराओ, और कुछ नहीं तो फैक्ट्री मैनेजर ही सीख जाएगा क्या होता है. और फिर एक बार फैक्ट्री आ गई तो वहाँ से टेक्नोलॉजी चुराना बहुत आसान है. तो एक वो हुआ. दूसरा, आई थिंक द अट्रैक्शन ऑफ एक्सपैट्रिएट्स, सो जो कल्चरल रेवोल्यूशन में भागे थे, तो उनको मतलब अट्रैक्ट करके लाना कि and so there was an outreach, there was a very systematic outreach, and there were special programs कि उनको खूब मोटे पैसे पे खींच के लाओ.
thousands or something कुछ नाम था उसका.
एक स्कीम का नाम था, you're right. तो वो उसको आप खींच के लाइए. वो सिस्टम जो है अब तो थोड़ा मुश्किल हो गया है शी जिनपिंग थॉट वगैरह के कारण, बट आई थिंक 7-8 साल पहले
जैसे इंडिया वाले सारे वहाँ रह के सिलिकॉन वैली के CEO बन गए, चाइना वाले सब चाइना चले गए.
quite possibly. But now that process is stopped. So people who are negative on China think that ये process अब बंद हो गया है. अब लोग मतलब भाग के जाना चाहते हैं,
वापस चाइना से.
वापस चाइना जाना चाहते हैं. तो
But they managed to attract like good large pool of
yes, all
globally talented people.
Yeah, so they did that, and they also invested heavily in their own universities. So some of the universities are absolutely world class in terms of the research programs, the investments that they do.
Any sense of quantum of investment or as a percent of GDP, like, you know, on overscheme of things, how much conscious money they've plowed in, we need to build in these areas world class things. I know AI, they had this, you know, their Sputnik movement after the whole Lee Sedol thing that happened.
Yeah.
But I think they've done that in multiple areas now.
हाँ, तो see 10, 20, 50, $100 billion तो मतलब बहुत जगह पे अब डालना शुरू किया उन्होंने. See, when we are trying to learn from them on what what can be done, remember that we are kind of where they were in 2006-07. So we have to see how much and what kind of things they were doing. I mean, other than, you know, stealing technology or untrusting companies, that in terms of you know, how much were they spending on universities? I don't think it costs that much. So I don't think it is about billions of dollars or some percent points of GDP. I think it is about giving that independence to set up departments, and so allowing, you know, attracting some very high-powered or very famous academic to then start pulling talent, and then developing and providing them funding to do technology. So universities, I think, are great training grounds for, and they build the capacity for engineers and all of that. But I think most of the research still happens either through government funding into private companies or companies' own competitiveness.
So, from India's lens, what do you think is the role of research institutes like, you know, let's just scan, you know, from AIFR, you know, set up, you know, a while back, and it was the foresight at that time. IITs, you know, have done incredible job on producing world-class engineers, but that's where the scope mostly stops. You know, I think the master and PhD program is not so far not comparable to what they're able to do with undergrad programs. The whole ecosystem needs a lot more nurturing and thrust, you know, to prepare over next 10-15 years.
I agree, but you can see the winds of change. I mean, you can see the winds of change. Though I agree, that is where a lot of the heavy lifting needs to happen. So, just say you take this like National Quantum Mission, or even you know, semiconductors. Now it has now become very clear that.
May first you should explain what is National Quantum Mission and semiconductor क्या हो रहा है, because most people may not be aware of it. क्या चल रहा है?
Okay, so see, Quantum Mission तो अभी छोटा है. मतलब I think 1,000 crore उनको कुछ दिया गया है to invest, because it's at such an early stage, and you and I have also attempted to understand कि भाई क्या है. तो लगता है कि 10 साल की कहानी है मतलब, but there is enough work happening, and it's a small thing, but that even that amount of spending means that there will be hundreds of researchers in various IITs and various institutions whose research will be supported, and then their expertise develops, and then some of them become entrepreneurs and so on and so forth. But semiconductors is where this is slightly more evolved. So सेमीकंडक्टर्स में काफ़ी फ्रंट्स पे काम हो रहा है. एक है कि आप चिप मैन्युफैक्चरिंग टेक्नोलॉजी लाओ. चिप मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, you know, is has two parts. One is you take the silicon wafers and you kind of make chips का dies, छोटा सा chip होता है. And the second step is the packaging, where you go from angstrom and nano level to a micron level. Basically उसको आप एक प्लास्टिक या सिरेमिक कोटिंग में डाल के या उसमें वो जो स्पाइडर टाइप जो निकले रहता है वो बनाते हैं. So that is packaging. Now India did not have wafer manufacturing. India did not have packaging. Now through a 76,000 crore, which was at that time $10 billion, where the government of India is giving 50% subsidy. तो गवर्नमेंट ने सेड कि आप अगर $4 बिलियन लगा रहे हो तो 2 हम देंगे. अच्छा, उनकी देखा देखी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट बोल रही है कि चलिए अगर केंद्र सरकार से आपको, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से आपको अप्रूवल मिल जाता है तो 20%, कोई स्टेट 20%, कोई स्टेट 25%. So there are some 7-8 states in India which are also offering those subsidies. Everyone from Andhra to Gujarat to Odisha to Telangana, Tamil Nadu, I mean, everyone is offering those. In some places, Assam में एक पैकेजिंग यूनिट लग रही है. तो आप समझ लो कि 70-75% of the capex is paid for. Now, this is, I don't think this is going to result in a lot of money to be made by someone, but I think from the perspective of safety and security, it is important that we should have some technology. And if we don't invest in this way, I mean, these are unduly generous. I mean, they may seem कि ये क्या है, वो जो 25% या लगाना है गवर्नमेंट को भी, कंपनी को भी, उसमें भी डेट लगा सकते हैं. तो आप 10 रुपये लगाओ और 100 रुपये का माल आपका, और सरकार कुछ भी नहीं मांग रही है आपसे, मतलब आप खाली लगाओ. बट यू हैव टू गिव एविडेंस दैट यू हैव टेक्नोलॉजी एंड योर, so this is very important.
Evidence of technology that you are somehow getting from outside.
Yes. So you have to have a technology partner. क्योंकि आपके पास तो कुछ है नहीं. या फिर अगर जैसे माइक्रॉन हो, माइक्रॉन इज अ ग्लोबल टेक्नोलॉजी लीडर एंड DRAM में टॉप 3 में है. तो माइक्रॉन ने जब पैकेजिंग प्लांट की बात की तो टेक्नोलॉजी तो उनकी है, तो वो तो लेके आ जाएंगे. बट अगर टाटाज कर रहे हैं या मुरुगप्पा ग्रुप कर रहा है CG पावर में, सो दैट दे नीड टू गेट, जैसे मुरुगप्पा ग्रुप गॉट रेनेसास, टाटाज हैव गॉट TSMC पावर चिप सेमीकंडक्टर. एंड व्हाट इज फैसिनेटिंग इज दैट 2 साल पहले इस इकोसिस्टम में but it was very frustrating that the kind of proposals we were getting was so bad. Semicon India, see, this is how far we have come in just 2 years. अब Semicon India होने लगा है. See, Semicon, for those of you people don't understand Semicon, जैसे there are flagship conferences. जैसे एक Semicon West होता है, एक Semicon China होता है, एक Semicon Taiwan होता है, Semicon Japan होता है. So Semicon India भी होने लगा, right? It's a great conference and it's very well attended. तो उसमें हमारा एक सेशन था in the people who kind of approved. मैंने कहा कि यार आप पावर पॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन पे हमसे $1 बिलियन मांग रहे हो, CEO तो सामने खड़ा करो. Right? It's like angel investing without knowing anything. Very shoddy proposals used to come through. So from there to have elite groups with good technology partners investing, we've come a long way. And what is even more fascinating is that now there is a whole pipeline of projects which is coming through. And now we have to go back to the government and say कि देखिए वो 76,000 करोड़ तो खर्च हो गया. अब सेमी 2.0 का एक अलग proposal दीजिए and all that. Let's see if that comes through. But what is fascinating is that we have come a very long way in these last 2 years in terms of just the manufacturing of wafers and the manufacturing of and the packaging of wafers, the chips.
So initiative like this will end up building in some ways foundation for next generation, because we'll build local capacity, training of talent and so on.
Absolutely.
Transform technology.
Absolutely. जैसे ये सब जो चाइना का इकोसिस्टम बनना शुरू हुआ था, वो लोग 7 नैनोमीटर पहुंच गए. हम लोग अभी तक 40 और 28 पे ही हैं.
40 और 28 जो नए प्रोजेक्ट्स बन रहे हैं.
हाँ, जो बन रहे हैं हम लोग से 28 नैनोमीटर को इंडस्ट्री तो 15 साल पहले पहुंच चुकी थी. So but we have to start somewhere. We can't start at 5 nanometers and 7. That is not going to be possible. People will not be very comfortable transferring it because यहाँ कुछ है ही नहीं. See, you need a whole ecosystem. It's one of the most complex things humans have ever built or ever manufactured. So it is not. I mean, you need very clean water. You need clean rooms of like class 1. मतलब ये per cubic meter एक dust particle होना चाहिए. उस तरह के क्लीन रूम इंडिया में है ही नहीं. मतलब आपको उसकी टेक्नोलॉजी चाहिए. वैसे ट्रेंड लोग तो आ जाएंगे. मतलब व्हाट वी आर क्वाइट इम्प्रेस्ड बाय इज द कैपेसिटी और द कैपेबिलिटी ऑफ सम ऑफ दीज कंपनीज टू अट्रैक्ट एक्सपैट्रिएट्स. सो तो ये अभी आप 28 पे करोगे, 40 पे करोगे, फिर 3-4 साल बाद 28 हो जाएगा. फिर जब लोग आ जाएंगे, जब वो इक्विपमेंट कंपनीज अपना सर्विस सेंटर खोल लेंगे, ये होगा वो होगा, then 5 years, 10 years later, people will start doing, 14 nanometers, 8 nanometers, 7 nanometers, whatever, 5 nanometers. Now, the thing is, China was doing these investments in the early 2000s. तो वहाँ पे भी ऐसे ही, मतलब out of nothing, these things were getting created. I mean, like जैसे ताइवान में, very famously, Morris Chang in 1987, फिर ताइवान जूते वूते बनाता था. तो वहाँ से टू मेक सेमीकंडक्टर दे हैड नो पार्टनर्स. I mean,
That guy went back from Texas Instruments or something, right?
he was 57 years old when he started TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, and he was passed over in becoming the CEO of Texas Instruments. And therefore, when the Taiwanese government offered him to lead this initiative, they wanted a technology partner. No one wanted to tie up with them, which is very similar to what we have been going through the last 2 years. Where India कौन जाएगा, वैसे ही तो Taiwan कौन जाएगा. And Philips Semiconductor was the only one, because they were also kind of struggling, because the Japanese didn't want to go to Taiwan, the Americans didn't want to go, and so Philips was the only one who went. And anyway, so coming back to this, so China went through this phase. And it took them 20 years to go from very lagging edge, small wafers to 12-inch and very cutting edge technology. हम भी 2040-45 तक शायद पहुंच जाएंगे. There is a second aspect to semiconductors, which is what I wanted to talk about when we got pulled into the manufacturing side. A lot of the value in the industry is captured by the chip design companies. And this is why I think as we think about our future, we have to think about who's capturing the value. जैसे एयरलाइन इंडस्ट्री में एयरक्राफ्ट कैप्चर द वैल्यू. एयरलाइन इंडस्ट्री की प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी होती है, बट वो सर्विस का है, वो छोटा सा होता है. सो इन द होल इकोसिस्टम, हाउ मच, सो अनलेस यू ओन द टेक्नोलॉजी, यू ओन the brand, the patents, it is very hard to. So, इसमें क्या होता है चिप्स में, other than TSMC and maybe Samsung and Intel, right? 2-3 कंपनीज गिनी चुनी हैं जिन लोगों का who are able to cover their cost of capital. It's a very volatile industry in terms of returns, and so in up cycle you make a lot of money, but then there are down cycles. I mean, आलू प्याज की तरह ट्रीट होता है. It is one of the most advanced things that humans have ever made, but you see the cycles. Inventory cycles are almost like potatoes. In this industry, it's very hard to make money consistently. But chip design companies are incredibly profitable if you get it right, and they still have capital investment requirements, but much slower, much lower than wafer manufacturing. 20% of chip design engineers work in India.
Globally,
global chip design engineers का 20% India में.
it's a massive asset.
It's a massive asset, but there are no Indian chip design companies. Now what is starting to happen? So फिर क्या हुआ कि अब तो एक गवर्नमेंट का, तो एक मैंने बताया ना कि वो सेमीकंडक्टर वेफर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एंड पैकेजिंग के लिए, वैसे एक डिज़ाइन लिंक्ड इंसेंटिव स्कीम भी है कि अगर आपको इंडिया में चिप डिज़ाइन कंपनी करनी है तो आपको हम इतने पैसे देंगे. उसके ऊपर some of the end markets like telecom ministry has now come up with a plan that some critical chips that go into telecom equipment कि वो इंडिया के ही कंपनीज से बनवाया जाए.
Got it.
So I was amazed कि कितनी सारी कंपनीज जो हैं
हाँ
वो अब इंडिया में स्प्राउट अप कर रही हैं. नाउ सम ऑफ देम एज द मिनिस्ट्री सेड, यार इनको बिजनेस चलाना आता है कि नहीं पता नहीं. सी दे आर ऑल professor types, PhD students who understand chip design, who have done VLSI design, and they want to, because they see the opportunity. And some of the subsidies that are coming are quite meaningful. मतलब आपको एक लेवल तक आपको ले जाने के लिए उतने पैसे काफ़ी हैं. So that is, in the last 6 months, I have seen the ecosystem. जैसे एक जनाब हैं जो 12 नैनोमीटर्स पे, इनफैक्ट हमारे कॉलेज के 2 साल जूनियर हैं, वो 12 नैनोमीटर्स पे वो ऐसे चिप बना रहे हैं जो 5 नैनोमीटर्स का क्वालकॉम चिप से कम्पीट करेगा. और बोल रहा है कि मेरा डाई साइज छोटा होगा. तो क्या होता है कि जब आप ट्रांजिस्टर साइज छोटा होता है ना, तो आपका चिप साइज भी कम हो जाता है. तो बोल रहा है कि वो क्वालकॉम 5 नैनोमीटर आएगा, हम 12 पे बनाएंगे और हमारा डाई साइज छोटा होगा और हमारा पावर कंजम्पशन कम होगा. सो एज यू गो इन द स्मॉलर मोर एडवांस नोड्स, पावर कंजम्पशन ऑल्सो ड्रॉप्स. तो ऐसे बहुत, ये कैसे कर रहे हो? तो बोला हम ये कुछ समझाया उसने, क्या आधी चीज़ें में समझ में नहीं आई, बट ये सीम्स टू बी कॉन्फिडेंट कि वो कर लेगा. एक जनाब है जो 3 नैनोमीटर पे AI चिप बना रहे हैं, जो कह रहे हैं कि जो एनवीडिया के जो बेसिक चिप्स हैं, जो मतलब वो बहुत ही वो वन साइज फिट ऑल चिप्स हैं ना. तो एज द इंडस्ट्री इवॉल्व्स, सो दीज गाइज आर नाउ, एक्चुअली कहा कि 3 नैनोमीटर में बनाएगा कौन? बोले नहीं, बनाना तो भारी पड़ेगा, बट इट विल टेक 3 years फॉर अस. तो 2027-28 तक तो बहुत सारे 3 नैनोमीटर वाले मैन्युफैक्चरर आ जाएंगे. तो वी हैव टू डिजाइन देयर एंड वी आर कम्पीटिंग इन AI. सो all of these are India-based chip design companies that are now coming up.
So Neelkant, of late, there has been, I think, a lot of coverage in media at least, कि there is a lot of thrust from the government. You mentioned National Quantum Mission. I think काफ़ी साल से चल रहा है National Research Foundation, which I think is roughly modeled after NSF, which is what, played a critical role in US sciences.
Correct.
And then there is this new deep tech fund, Anusandhan fund. I think there is a talk of something like $12 billion fund. So I don't know like exactly where these are, but this seems like good sign. At least there seems to be a deliberate intent to put serious capital and also acknowledge that research, deep tech matters in India, and there's a government is also willing to do something to catalyze the whole ecosystem.
Absolutely. And मेरे ख्याल से मतलब इंटेंट वही है कि हम लोग सीरियस है. फ्रॉम व्हाट आई अंडरस्टैंड, आई थिंक देयर इज कि ये जो अनुसंधान वाला फंड है, इसका जो 1 लाख करोड़ का फंड है, ये इसका स्ट्रक्चर क्या होगा, इसको एडमिनिस्टर कैसे किया जाएगा, किस डिपार्टमेंट में हाउस होगा, कि वो डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी में जाएगा, कि वो इकोनॉमिक अफेयर्स में रहेगा, या PMO एडमिनिस्टर करेंगे. I don't know, right? I mean, I don't think that is clear yet. But the objective is, exactly as you said, that, what the difference between the Research Foundation and the Anusandhan Fund is that is for really deep theoretical research, long-term projects which are done at academic institutions and all that. The Anusandhan Fund is what we call pre-commercial R&D. And it can be used for a whole variety of purposes. So at least the way it is currently structured, and I don't know if it will remain structured like that, is about interest-free loans which are very long-term. So you still have to return that, but for young organizations or for companies taking risk, it can provide cheap cost of funding. Now, the objective, and this I think will include, because, and frankly, these are not things which have been detailed yet, but as these things do get fleshed out, I won't be surprised if the government allows for this fund to be used for even foreign acquisition. जैसे I think we earlier discussed कि जापान में मतलब there are hundreds of thousands, लाखों कंपनीज हैं जो यहाँ के प्रोप्राइटर जो हैं वो 70 साल से ऊपर हैं, कोई नॉन सक्सेसर नहीं है, और काफ़ी अच्छे पेटेंट्स और टेक्नोलॉजीज हैं. उनको खरीद लीजिए, उनको फिर आपको मिल जाएगा एक्सेस. ये होने लगा है. जैसे कुछ देसी कंपनी हैं जो यूरोप में भी इस तरह की सिचुएशंस हैं, जैसे जर्मनी में वर्कर ही नहीं है, तो फैक्ट्री कैसे चलाओगे? लेकिन टेक्नोलॉजी है, पेटेंट्स हैं, तो आप खरीद लें उनको और यहाँ पे मैन्युफैक्चर करें. तो ये सब होने लगा है. बट ये फंड जो है 1 लाख करोड़ का फंड जो है, इसको वो और एक्सेलरेट कर सकता है. नाउ एक हम प्रिस्क्रिप्शन दे सकते हैं. तो हम ये कह सकते हैं कि आइडियली we should do what Vannevar Bush did in 1940, but something which Truman balked at, or Truman administration balked at, कि भाई प्राइवेट सेक्टर को कैसे एडमिनिस्टर करना है. इसमें रेजिस्टेंस होगा कि ये टैक्स पेयर का पैसा है, इसमें प्राइवेट सेक्टर क्या करेगा. बट अगर आप उसमें बहुत रिप्यूटेड लोगों को बिठा दें और कहें कि एक पॉलिसी मेकिंग बॉडी होगी. सी यू डोंट इवन नो कि इसमें आप इसे वैक्सीन में डालेंगे कि सेमीकंडक्टर में डालेंगे कि. और अभी क्या हो रहा है ना, जैसे अब टेलीकॉम मिनिस्ट्री के पास एक चिप डिज़ाइन फंड है, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स एंड इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी मेटी के पास एक डिज़ाइन फॉर डिज़ाइन लिंक्ड इंसेंटिव स्कीम है. किसी और मिनिस्ट्री के पास कुछ और जगह, मुझे बारे में पता नहीं है. तो इन सबको इकट्ठा करके एक जगह कर दो. और एक बढ़िया मतलब एंड बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो मतलब 60, 65, 70 साल के हैं जिनके पास बहुत एक्सपीरियंस है, जिन्होंने बड़ी सक्सेसफुल कंपनी चलाई हैं, और वो और उनको मतलब जेब में पैसे हैं, पेट भरा हुआ है, मतलब ऐसा भी नहीं कि उनको पैसे बनाने हैं या तो अदर दैन द डिज़ायर टू डू वेल और टू थिंक वेल ऑफ द कंट्री, और कुछ ज़्यादा उनके पास इंटेंट मतलब सेल्फिश मोटिव भी नहीं है. तो ऐसे लोगों को आप 4-5 लोगों को ऊपर बैठा दो, उसके नीचे वो जो एक प्रोसेस होता है कि भाई जब आप ग्रांट के लिए compete करते हो, तो वो सिस्टम लगा दो एंड इट कैन बी ए रनिंग फंड. कि मतलब अगर 1 लाख करोड़ है, हो सकता है कि इसको यूज़ करने में 3-4 साल लग जाएं, तो सरकार के पास कमिटमेंट रहेगा कि भाई इसको फिर हम टॉप अप कर देंगे. जैसे NRF जो या जो साइंस फाउंडेशन जो किया था, जो इनफैक्ट जो ये फंड बनाया था वानेवर बुश और FDR ने, द टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलप्ड विद दीज फंड्स वाज ओन्ड बाय दिस. तो आप ऐसा कर दें कि भाई अगर आप इक्विटी स्टेक ले रहे हैं, हम डेट नहीं ले रहे, तो आप कह दें कि भाई ये उस पर आपको कुछ पैसे देने होंगे. सो ऑल ऑफ दीज स्ट्रक्चर्स कैन बी इवॉल्व्ड, बट विदाउट दिस लेवल ऑफ इंटरवेंशन द प्रोसेस विल बी अ स्लो वन. तो आई थिंक वो जो सरकार कोशिश कर रही है कि इस प्रोसेस को एक्सेलरेट किया जाए. जैसे मैंने कहा कि वो कुछ कंपनीज यूरोप में जाके ऑलरेडी कंपनीज को एक्वायर कर रही हैं, कुछ देसी भाई लोग जापान में जाके वो फिशिंग कर रहे हैं कि भाई इसको खरीद लेते हैं, उसको खरीद लेते हैं. अब इसको अगर आप 1 लाख करोड़ किसी को दे दें एंड उसको 3 साल में खर्च करना है, तो बहुत ज़्यादा टेक्नोलॉजी फिर हमारे हाथ में आ सकती है. जो चीन ने किया 2007 में 8 में, जब वो यूरोपियन कार मैन्युफैक्चरर्स बैंकरप्ट हो रही थी, तो उन्होंने ब्रांड्स खरीद लिए, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग टेक्नोलॉजी खरीद ली. तो हम भी तैयार रहें, कभी न कभी वहाँ कुछ उड़ेगा, हम उसको खरीद सकते हैं. So this will accelerate the process. So I think it's a good step in that direction.
Good step in the right direction, but probably, I guess, first of all, we need to see it get actioned and the money start being distributed, and more importantly, sustained for a long period of time, because these things can also, easily be halted.
हाँ, वो हो सकता है, और इसलिए उसका ढांचा सही होना चाहिए. क्योंकि अगर आप इसको गलत डिपार्टमेंट में हाउस कर दोगे, उसका एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव स्ट्रक्चर गलत कर दोगे, तो वो फंड बैठ जाएगा.
Correct. And there is whenever you deploy something like this to a risky initiative, there are many people will watch and point out the early failures and so on.
हाँ, और क्या होता है ना कि जैसे डेमोक्रेसी है, हर कोई इनका अपना ओपिनियन होगा, उसमें अगर शुरू के 3-4 साल कुछ अच्छे सक्सेसेस आ गए, तो फिर कोई सवाल नहीं पूछेगा. अब उसमें 1-8 साल में कहीं गलती से कोई स्कैंडल आ गया, तो फंड बंद हो जाएगा. So those risks we will run it.
And this is, this is what government needs to do. But what is the role of private sector from R&D? We grew up reading all the stories about Xerox, Spark, invention of pretty much everything related to computer. AT&T Bell Labs was, an ideal job for whole generation of, engineers and scientists, right? IBM, Watson Research Center, again, and these guys have contributed to fundamental research, including, countless Nobel Prize contributions. इंडिया में प्राइवेट सेक्टर R&D is where, and
कहाँ है? कहीं नहीं है.
अभी नहीं है, तो होगा कभी.
नहीं, देखिए जो नाम आपने लिए, ज़ीरोक्स, स्पार्क, कहाँ?
हाँ, वो ठीक है, चलो, मतलब इंस्पिरेशन के नाम लिए, बट कहीं तो चालू करना पड़ेगा.
नहीं, अगर आप सी इफ यू आर लुकिंग एट प्राइवेट कैपिटल, प्राइवेट कैपिटल विल लुक एट कि भाई पैसे बनेंगे नहीं, काम दूंगा, पैसे बनाना है. सो द रीजन वाई say an Intel and some of the research projects have not worked, right? जैसे वो extreme ultraviolet lithography में उनका रिसर्च नहीं चला। उन्होंने भी कुछ काफ़ी 5-7-8 बिलियन डॉलर खर्च किया, बट नहीं चला। TSMC ने 10 बिलियन डॉलर खर्च किया, उनका चल गया, तो इसलिए वो 2-3 नैनोमीटर बना रहे हैं, इंटेल से नहीं बनता। सैमसंग बहुत रिसर्च करता है इन डेवलपिंग टेक्नोलॉजीज, एंड रिमेंबर दैट रिसर्च बाय डेफिनेशन मीन्स रिस्क टेकिंग। तो बहुत सारा रिसर्च ऐसा होगा जो आपका फेल कर जाएगा। तो अब जैसे फार्मास्यूटिकल रिसर्च है कि अब आपके मतलब आपको काफ़ी बिलियन, एक समय था जब मैं फार्मा एनालिस्ट होता था, जब लोग कहते थे कि भाई मतलब एक प्रोडक्ट, एक सक्सेसफुल मॉलिक्यूल डिस्कवर करने में मतलब कितने बिलियन डॉलर लग जाते हैं। तो सो एक चीज़ तो ये है कि सो व्हेन पीपल से दैट इंडियन कंपनीज डोंट डू R&D, व्हिच आई थिंक इज़ अ फैक्ट, द फर्स्ट रीज़न इज़ that at this stage of evolution or at this stage of development, one shouldn't expect private companies to do minimum research, because अभी क्या है कि हम लोग कैपिटल स्टार्व्ड इकॉनमी है। अभी तो यार हमारे यहाँ पे सीमेंट बनाने में पैसे बन जाते हैं। सीमेंट में क्या है, या PVC पाइप, मतलब आप देखोगे कि मतलब PVC पाइप कंपनीज का मार्केट कैपिटलाइजेशन 10-15-20 बिलियन डॉलर हो गया है। तो वो क्या है, मतलब वो पैलेट लो, मेल्ट करो, का पाइप बना दो। तो जब जब इतनी आसानी, सो एंड व्हाट दिस शोज इज दैट देयर इज अ शॉर्टेज ऑफ कैपिटल। सो अगर आपका कैपिटल इन्हीं सब चीज़ों को बनाने में चला जाएगा, तो फिर आपको रिसर्च करने की ज़रूरत क्या है? रिसर्च तो तभी ज़रूरत पड़ेगी जब आपको कम्पीट करना होगा। तो आई थिंक एक तो ये है कि इंडिया की इकोनॉमी इज़ बिग इनफ दैट एट सम पॉइंट आई थिंक इंटरनल कॉम्पिटिशन will force companies to start doing research. और end of life, जैसे जब मैं फार्मा एनालिस्ट होता था, तो कंपनीज जो हैं 7-8%, 10% ऑफ रेवेन्यूज जो हैं रिसर्च में खर्च। अगर आपका रेवेन्यू मतलब $400 मिलियन है, $300 मिलियन है, तो आपके पास मतलब 20-25-30 मिलियन डॉलर रिसर्च करने को में क्या कर लोगे आप? अब उन कंपनी का रेवेन्यू 2 बिलियन 3 बिलियन डॉलर हो गया है, तो उनके पास 200, 250, 300 मिलियन डॉलर आ गए हैं, तो अब वो थोड़ा और कॉम्प्लेक्स प्रोजेक्ट। तो एक देयर इज़ अ नेचुरल एवोल्यूशन टू दिस। आई विल नॉट बी होल्डिंग माई ब्रेथ, आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट दिस इज़ द वे इट शुड बी। इनफैक्ट जब मैं देखता हूँ कि इतनी सारी कंपनीज हैं, यू गिव यू सम फैक्ट्स, कंपनीज का अगर आप कैश फ्लो देखो, तो एक होता है ऑपरेटिंग कैश फ्लो, यानी कि आपने कंपनी का मान लीजिए कुछ प्रॉफिट बना, मान लीजिए 100 रुपये प्रॉफिट बना, उसमें कुछ नॉन कैश कॉस्ट होते हैं जैसे डिप्रिशिएशन वगैरह, तो उसको आप ऐड कर दो। थोड़ा वर्किंग कैपिटल में ऊपर नीचे होता है, उससे वो कैश ऊपर या नीचे होगा, वो निकाल के आपका ऑपरेटिंग कैश फ्लो आता है। उसको कंपनी क्या करती है कि उसमें थोड़ा फैक्ट्री बनाएगी, या जो डिप्रिशिएट करके एसेट्स को रिप्लेस करना होगा वगैरह वगैरह, तो इन्वेस्टिंग कैश फ्लो होता है। नाउ 2014 तक अगर 100 रुपया ऑपरेटिंग कैश फ्लो था, तो इन्वेस्टिंग कैश फ्लो 140 था।
हाँ,
यानी कंपनीज जो हैं वो ऑप्टिमिस्टिक थी फ्यूचर के बारे में, या उनको अपॉर्चुनिटी दिख रही थी,
बोरो करके
वो उधार लेके और वो खर्च कर रहे थे या इक्विटी रेज कर रहे थे, जो भी चला। 2019 से 24 के बीच में, द लास्ट 5 years, ऑपरेटिंग कैश फ्लोज ऑफ द टॉप 200 कंपनीज इन इंडिया, लिस्टेड कंपनीज इन इंडिया, हैज़ गॉन अप बाय 2.5 times. कुछ 4.2-4.3 लाख करोड़ था, वो अभी 12 लाख करोड़ हो गया। नाउ द इन्वेस्टिंग कैश फ्लोज आर नाउ 70% ऑफ ऑपरेटिंग कैश फ्लोज। तो अब क्या हो रहा है कि उनको लोन की भी जरूरत नहीं है। तो भाई अगर आपके पास पैसे हैं, थोड़ा रिसर्च कर लो, टेक्नोलॉजी खरीद लो। सो कुछ बट कंपनीज को आदत नहीं है, क्योंकि वो रिस्क टेकिंग कैपेबिलिटी नहीं है। तो कुछ ग्रुप्स कर रहे हैं, जैसे सेमीकंडक्टर्स वगैरह में जो ले रहे हैं, मतलब आई थिंक दिस इज अ सिग्निफिकेंट रिस्क, दो इवन दो गवर्नमेंट सब्सिडी बहुत ज़्यादा है, बट ये बहुत वॉलेटाइल इंडस्ट्रीज़ हैं, 10-15 साल का कमिटमेंट है। तो बड़े ग्रुप्स जो हैं, तो बड़े ग्रुप्स जो इंडिया में हैं, जो अभी मतलब बट उनके पास भी ना, मतलब टू बी फेयर टू देम, कि अब जैसे अभी सोलर पावर में ये भी इंडिया को इतनी एनर्जी की ज़रूरत है कि वो एनर्जी इन्वेस्टमेंट में ही अगर आप जोर से इन्वेस्ट कर दें, फिर भी पैसे बन जाएंगे। तो जब ऐसा होगा ना कि आपके पास उसको डिप्लॉय करने के एवेन्यूज़ खत्म हो जाएंगे, तो मे बी दे विल स्टार्ट डूइंग रिसर्च। सो सम ऑफ दीज कंपनीज आर स्टार्टिंग टू बाय इंटरेस्टिंग कंपनी, जैसे वो हाइड्रोजन का वो इलेक्ट्रोलाइजर और कुछ बनाने में, ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन बनाने में क्या चाहिए, तो उसके लिए थोड़ा मोड़ा रिसर्च और लैब खरीद रहे हैं, बट दीज आर वेरी स्मॉल. बट आई विश दैट जो ये बड़े कंग्लोमरेट्स हैं, जैसे अब कोई कंग्लोमरेट जो है कि तो एक दूसरे के एरिया में घुस रहे हैं कि अरे कोई पेंट कंपनी लॉन्च कर रहा है, तो कोई सीमेंट कंपनी लॉन्च कर रहा है, तो कोई अब हम भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाएंगे, हम रियल एस्टेट में घुसेंगे. तो ये सब तो कैपिटल डिप्लॉयमेंट का है. सो इन अ कैपिटल स्टार्व्ड इकोनॉमी, which is what India is and will be for the next 10-15 years, I think the incentive to generate that extra return by prudently investing in research is very limited.
And what does all this mean for, again, just where I started, the research institutes in India? See, a lot of youngsters are, and we were there, उसको लगता था कि यार साइंस पढ़ेंगे, रिसर्च करेंगे थोड़ा. Like now that, with a hindsight of nearly 30-year, career behind us, like today's youngsters who are interested in research, what should they look forward to in the research institutes in India? It's to be able to make meaningful contribution. Is the economy getting to a point where there's enough support to nurture that ecosystem?
I think there is, because but at the same time, at this stage, given that India is still, at least on the research side, not cutting edge, and it will not be for a while, I think it's much better to go abroad, learn that cutting edge stuff, and then come back, do a compromise, because जो आपको वहाँ पे funding मिलेगी, वो यहाँ पे नहीं मिल सकती. But I think the ability to contribute and I think the environment today is far better. In fact, you see the number of patents being issued, the number of research papers being published. These things are going up. I mean, we are miles behind where China is and where we should be. But I can see that. So so say 5, 7, 10 years, अगर कोई अभी बीटेक खत्म कर रहा है, उसको पढ़ना है आगे, तो मेरे ख्याल से जब रिसर्च ही करना है तो वही कटिंग एज पढ़ाई करो, तो वो तो बाहर ही हो रही है. बट फिर आप जब उसको लेके इंडिया आओगे तो देन देयर विल बी अ मच मोर फर्टाइल इकोसिस्टम. एंड व्हाट आई फाइंड इन दैट, लाइक चिप डिज़ाइन, जो मैंने एक बिजनेस एक्यूमेन इवैल्यूएशन कमेटी बनाई गई थी, उसमें मतलब वही हमारी तरह के फाइनेंशियल मार्केट लोगों को बुलाया गया था. तो I could see so many of these professors and their PhD students from ISC and IITs and this and that.
Yeah.
जिन लोगों ने कि भाई हम भी करेंगे चिप डिज़ाइन, ना उनको कैसे बेचेंगे, ये इकोसिस्टम कैसे काम करता है, कुछ समझ में नहीं आता. बट एंटरप्रेन्योर्स ऐसे होते हैं, राइट? I mean, they take a problem and they just jump into the water and figure out तैरना भी सीख लेंगे, which is good. I mean, I think so वो इकोसिस्टम भी आ रहा है. And through the things like National Quantum Mission or the Semiconductor Project, we are starting to see, for example, मैं जब ताइवान में था, 2 साल में रहा वहाँ, तो जो सिंचू साइंस पार्क है, वहाँ पे इतने इंडियन लोग पोस्ट डॉक करने जाते थे. क्योंकि भाई अगर ESMC वहाँ है और इतना रिसर्च डॉलर वहाँ खर्च हो रहा है, तो ऑब्वियसली अच्छे पेपर लिखने के लिए आपको वहाँ एक्सेस मिलता है. अब इंडिया में जब फैब्स बन जाएंगे, और इंडिया में फैब्स बनने के साथ साथ आपके वो अप्लाइड मटेरियल्स और लैम रिसर्च और नोवेलस और डिस्को और ये सब कंपनीज आ जाएंगी, तो ऑब्वियसली the universities will be much closer to them, and they can start funding research, and some of these companies are actually starting to fund research. तो वो अच्छी यूनिवर्सिटीज़ के साथ टाई अप करके they are starting to create chairs, professors or fund departments कि भाई इसमें मुझे इतना रिसर्च चाहिए. So this ecosystem is developing. I mean, I think एक process है जिसमें हम अगर कुछ इंटरवीन न करें तो अपने आप नॉर्मली चलेगा.
And this ecosystem development में this philanthropy has any role to play? नहीं? Too small.
See, CSR का पैसा जो है, so one thing which is somewhat unique in India is वो जो 2% of profit जो CSR को देना होता है. So the government also, see, हुआ क्या कि वो it's a classic, कि funding आ गई, खर्च क्या करना किसी को पता नहीं है, because the absorptive capacity is not there. So over a period of time, the government has expanded the remit of what CSR funding can go into. तो उसमें
internship भी आ गई उसमें.
अब तो internship भी आ गई है, which I think is not a bad idea. I mean, I think it has to be fine-tuned a lot before it becomes really effective. But as a starting point, I think this brainwave is not too bad. But the fact that CSR money can now be, funding research centers in IITs or various institutes is a good step. But 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 crore, 50,000 crore, so unless it is, you're talking about, something which is, $20, $30 billion, मतलब आराम से 2-3 लाख crore, to make a very visible impact at scale is not going to happen. But I think these are all starting points. But I think it will be inappropriate to expect कि वो CSR का पैसा जो है research.
So look, the big picture that's emerging for me is based on the discussion is over 10 to 20 year period, India will have to figure out a way to find our deep tech game. It requires ecosystem creation. The government definitely has a big role to play, but we also need to be smart about technology transfer. I think some of the examples you mentioned that potentially transferring from Germany, Europe, buying out small firms, etc. Probably attracting a lot more Indian research talent to come back to India somehow through whatever programs, etc. Because if you don't do that, at some point, this whole just implementation, distribution type of thing will run out its course.
No, absolutely. And also attracting, and this is again in our earlier episodes, we have discussed this, the importance of attracting foreign manufacturers to India. And being a lot more proactive about it, in the sense that ये नहीं कि हाँ भाई आ जाओ आपको हम देखेंगे टैक्स का क्या होता है. अरे जब उनको सबसे बड़ा डर जो है हमारी टैक्स अथॉरिटी से ही लगता है, तो आप उसको ईज करो. So because that is the only way you can speed up this process. क्योंकि अगर ग्लोबली बड़ी कंपनीज आके यहाँ पे इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल बनाने लगे हैं, बैटरी प्लांट्स लगा दे, तो इससे अच्छा क्या हो सकता है? जॉब्स भी क्रिएट हो रही हैं यहाँ पे, लोगों को वो अपनी बेस्ट इन क्लास टेक्नोलॉजी ला के वो भी सिखा रहे हैं. बेस्ट इन क्लास नहीं भी हैं तो एटलीस्ट आपके लोगों को समझ में तो आ रहा है कि बैटरी कैसे बनती है, अभी तो किसी को पता नहीं है. तो so I think that is also a very important part of the process. And once that happens, I think, and the government, I think through this Anusandhan Fund or the National Research Foundation, and universities of excellence, I think allowing much more freedom to higher education, attracting foreign universities to set up shop here, and trying to replicate that model of industry. I mean, so there's a lot of stuff that we need to do. One can see the intent is there, but a long way to go.
Okay, let's watch this space with interest. I think I'm pretty sure this is going to be a slow game. I don't think things will change dramatically, but there's enough signs at least to feel more optimistic and to watch the space here.
Absolutely.
Cool, Nilkant. Like always, good to talk to you. Thanks for taking the time. I know it's end of the day for you, long day, but great to.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
At Sparks, we aim to bring to you stories of exponential impact. We share in-depth analysis of what goes behind success stories. If you find our conversations interesting, you can join us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. You can also listen to Sparks on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or any other audio platform of your choice. If you have any suggestions on who we should invite or what topics we need to cover, just let us know in the comments. We are always listening, looking for ways to improve, and keep getting better as we go along.